If Sue were with us tonight, in her inimitable, modest manner, she'd acknowledge the great honor, but she'd claim that it's the 5 other women who are the distinguished honorees. Not me, she'd say. She'd say, I'm just doing my job. She'd tell us to read her bio in the program so we could now leave and drive home at a decent hour safely. And she'd even say, and you know, you'll turn into the NCAA. But I'm not going to do that. Sue Ward was always proud of her early years' experiences with the culture and traditions of the Navajo Nation, proud of her career and profession as a licensed certified social worker, and most proud of her 2 accomplished daughters, one of whom you'll meet in a few moments. Sue and I met about 25 years ago. As a state legislator, I was very active in introducing and sponsoring legislation that had to do with senior adults. And she had just been appointed the first secretary of the Maryland Department of Aging. Now, being the first of anything is certainly significant, but it imposed an additional responsibility on Sue. Responsibility for vision, for initiative, and energy that would establish interdepartmental groups of people who would get together for policy, for services, for programs, for oversight. Sue's leadership of the Department of Aging became a model replicated by many of our states. And with us tonight is former state senator Jean Rosser, who immediately follows Sue as our next Secretary of Aging. Jean, would you please stand and be recognized? Sue and I lost touch for a short while after she retired as our Secretary of Aging in 2003, and I as a state legislator in 2007. However, in 2008, I was invited to visit the advisory board of Catholic University's Center on Global Aging, better known as COGA. And I opened the door, and there she was. She was a board member of COGA, one of her many, many nonprofit volunteer activities during the same time she worked for the grassroots department of the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. And thank you, Congresswoman Barbara Keneally, who is chair of that very important committee, for being with us tonight to honor Sue Ward's induction. Please stand again, Barbara, if you're right. Sue and its mission in COGA was to foster meaningful, healthy lives for older adults through research, professional education, advocacy, and partnerships, both nationally and internationally. And this group certainly benefited from Sue's active participation. You know, Sue Ward was an individual, an extraordinary woman, who was able to function in a very demanding academic environment, COGA, as well as she was able in the highly charged government political arena. All I can say is, what a woman. It was my honor to know, learn from, and greatly admire Sue Ward, our first Secretary of Aging in the state of Maryland. Thank you all for listening.
Delegate Mandel, thank you so much. Sue Ward was nominated by Jill Moss Greenberg, one of the founders of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center. Sue's daughter, Lucille Ward Walker, is here today to accept the award on the family's behalf. So Lucille and Jill, please join me. We'd like to do the reports here.
too. That sounds just pretty good. That's not very
I think we covered it.
well, let's see if maybe
She talked too long. She should have let her daughter get up there. Sorry, I'm sorry. I only have 8 minutes left of my battery. I'm going to swipe this a second time.
I really don't know what I can add. I do have a couple of things to say. I will try not to cry as I was bawling. Such beautiful things. I'm Lucille, and I am here to accept this award on behalf of my mother, Sue Fry Award. These are her grandsons and her son-in-law and her good friend, Joe Greenberg. I would like to thank the selection committee, the Maryland Commission for Women, the women legislators of Maryland, the Maryland Women's Heritage Center, and Jill Moss Greenberg, all for making this award possible. My mother was a trailblazer. Now that term is one that is a bit overused these days, but in her case it did fit. The definition of a trailblazer is one that blazes or marks a trail to guide others. Well, there you have it. From marking out the literal trails on the Navajo reservation of her youth to the figurative trails of her life, she carved new paths for others to follow. She was a champion for elders, and that came from her deep respect for people in all stages of their life. My mother would often refer to elders rather than the elderly. She would often put it, elderly is a condition, but elders are people, and people with a vital contribution to make to our society. My mother had a number of firsts under her belt, including being named the first Secretary of Aging for the state of Maryland. In the 1970s, she was also one of the first women to run against another woman for a seat on the U.S. House of Representatives. She was never confined by what was expected. Our mother-daughter dates were often at polling places, or volunteering, or at marches. And my father, Archie Ward, when he retired, he kept the home fires burning as Mom blazed her way. Go get 'em, Sue, he would say, because he knew she wasn't doing this for herself. She was doing this for all of us. In her later years, while grassroots director of the National Committee, as you were talking, she was also deeply involved with the Center on Global Aging, as well as the International Association for Indigenous Aging. And this was all while she was in her 70s. And I think I'm tired. So my family and I, we stand here today to thank her for her amazing legacy and to thank all of you for honoring it. She inspired us. And I know I speak for many here when I say it was an honor to know her. May we go forward as she did, with a strong sense of purpose and with a grand sense of humor. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jill and Lucille. What an extraordinary group of women we have inducted into the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame this evening. Don't you agree? Yeah. Let's give all 6 and their nominators another round of applause. The names, photos, and biographies of our 6 honorees will be posted permanently on the website of the Maryland State Archives and will be displayed on a plaque at the Maryland Women's Heritage Center. They will be there along with all of the previous inductees. Here to present this year's plaque is Delegate Gaines is not here, so it's Marcia Weiss here. Delegate Tawana, who is the president Delegate Tawana Gaines, who's the president of the Women of the Maryland General Assembly, she's still, I believe, in session. So if I can ask Ms. Weiss to receive the plaque, and Diana Bailey, managing director of the Maryland Women's Heritage Center, will be approaching.
I hereby present this plaque listing all 6 awards, honorees, sorry. And we suggest again you go up and see it at the Heritage Center. We're very proud of all of you.
Thank you again. I'm the new executive director, and I wanted to again welcome Jill Moss Greenberg, one of our founders and executive director emeritum, for being here. You saw on the table an invitation to come visit us at the Heritage Center. And now that we've had the induction of all these fabulous women, they join their sisters. There's about 170 of them now. Part of them are in a very large exhibit on the floor, and we hope to have it expanded so all of you have not only the display, but your stories will be there. And it's our job at the Women's Heritage Center, when we have visitors, students, and citizens of Maryland, to keep her story alive and your voices alive. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you all.
What a wonderful evening this has been. Dr. Kathleen White, Chair of the Maryland Commission for Women, has a few remarks before we close. Dr. White.
Thank you, Jamie. Has this been a fantastic evening or what? I don't know about you all, but I tell you, I am so emotional just to see and to witness the amount of talent, beauty that we have here in the state of Maryland. What a gorgeous state we have. And tonight, this program would have not been made possible. We do not do this work all by ourselves, so there are special thank yous that we have to do. And it's pretty much protocol. And as we always say, we must do things in decency and in order. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank our newly appointed governor, Governor Hogan. And Mrs. Hogan, thank you so much. Jamie Sterling, and Jamie, I have to walk over here. I'm not being Oprah or anyone else, but I would be remiss, and so would the Maryland Commission for Women, without just offering you a small token for the beautiful work that you've done with us this evening. We hope that this event has been one in which you have enjoyed. We have enjoyed having your presence and your company here as we help to celebrate the 30th year of celebrating and honoring women and inducting them into the Maryland Women Hall of Fame, as we are sponsored by the Maryland Commission for Women. Thank you and good night.